Greetings, friends. Josue Batista here. I'm so glad to be in touch with you just for a few minutes today, just to keep the conversation and the communication going. It has been a while since I did any videos on LinkedIn. I really enjoy that, and what and why first is key to my brand in the sense that I really enjoy explaining the what and why. And this time, we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is quite interesting. Is Model Context Protocol, MCP. And it has been out for a while. It has a connection to Anthropic, which is one of my favorite companies because I use a lot the Claude line of products for LLMs and capabilities. And they came out with this around November of last year. And I remember hearing about it. I was quite busy. As you know, I am with ServiceNow. And I try to constantly keep a pulse as to what is going on in the industry. So I do know that the MCP has a connection to agentic AI, which is an area that is quite growing. It's growing significantly in terms of discovery, exploration, showing the art of the possible to a lot of industries and leaders, and also finding practical applications for it. So essentially, the Model Context Protocol is an open source standard, and I like that. I would enable developers to build two-way connections between their data sources and AI-powered tools, in this case, AI agents. And the architecture is pretty straightforward. Developers can either expose their data or applications or services through MCP services or servers, or build AI applications, it will be in this case the client side, that connect to the servers. And I figured that it's difficult to build a standard because adoption is key to becoming actually a standard. In most cases, there may be a proposal, right, for a standard like Anthropic did back in November. And I was kind of curious as to where that is now. And I remember looking at that video, and frankly, it seems pretty straightforward the way that he communicated and the simplicity associated with that. Of course, he's using a model. As you can see here, he has a website, and he's using, of course, a library that he built. He built a set of applications. It's called Prison AI agents that he built for that. But the implementation is pretty straightforward. Using his library, essentially it creates a search agent object from the agent class, and then he can then from there, one of the methods is to start that connection with a prompt, and that prompt then brings back, in this case from Airbnb, it brings the results. So I tried that. It worked out pretty well. It relies on OpenAI, and also discover that there is a plenty of repositories in the web, like this one here, that has entry points or directories to NCP servers. And in this case, for example, you can see there are official integrations from different companies. These are the ones for reference services. AWS has one for knowledge article retrieval, and you can see there is this. The list keeps growing, and it seems pretty promising at first. I think the challenging that I found when I attempted to use a few of this is that everyone is trying to, or attempting to do kind of their own flavor of implementation, trying to place a stake in the ground, saying my implementation is the better one, so you need to use my library as opposed to using kind of a more standardized open source approach to this. So yeah, it still is open source, but I think like Presson, he built his own library, right? So you rely on his library, and hopefully he will be around for a long time. He is a very brilliant individual. So, but the issue with that is, so that is an exciting space, and I just want to share with you that I found that I think it's an area that will be interesting to explore, since agentic AI is going to rely significantly in using tools not only within the space or environment where the agents are deployed, but also it's going to need, in most cases, integration to other points. NCP appears to be at least a promising opportunity to create the standards for that. And of course, the is Anthropic. So I really like that because Anthropic, in my opinion, in my experience, has a well developed and reliable set of delivering very good products. I use Claude on a regular basis, and I was pleased to see that they are taking leadership when it comes to this model protocol. So by the way, so what I did was once I found that, and again, thanks to shout out to Mervin Presson, great professional. It seems that he is really in the forefront of a lot of new technologies. I'm following him via YouTube, looking forward for new videos, and I really encourage you as well to follow him as well. But what I did was I am using the Claude MCP. I kind of did my own implementation, right? So I just basically created a set using Claude, by the way, because I relied on Claude a lot to for the work that I do. So in this case, let me just bring it over here and give you an idea as to what I did here. So in this scenario here, I created a few scripts, Python scripts that essentially rely on that, right? So for example, I have this simple, let me just bring it over here, this simple NCP Airbnb. This is the first version here. You can get an idea as to what it does, when we do that. So essentially, I'm bringing a synchronous in and out library that I want to be using for the output. But the key are here, right? So there is an NCP import for the client session and the server parameters. There is also here's where the NCP client is created. I'm bringing here the server parameters for the Airbnb. So this Airbnb is actually a Node.js implementation that you have to make sure that is created up front. So it is in your environment. So it has to be there. You have to have Node.js as your environment behind the scenes, and you have to make sure that that particular implementation of the server, in this case, this OpenBNB that we saw in this repository, is being implemented here as well. And from there is basically the implementation of connecting to the server. I changed from OpenAI to use Claude. You're going to see that in a moment. But essentially, this takes creates a session, calls the server with these arguments. The server has a method that is called Airbnb search, and I think it has another one called Airbnb details. So the search brings you just a snippet and an ID of the detailed information, and then you can call the other method to get the additional results. But essentially, here's a simple kind of query, and it's going to really just spill out the results of that. Let me make sure. Let's try it here. Let me make sure that is. I don't think I have to install the server. I believe it's already there globally. So let's give it a try. And by the way, I already have, most likely I already have my, as you can see, here's the results, right? So here's basically, you can see it made the connection to the server. Here are the tools available. I mean, there are methods, but they call them tools for the agent. It has a search and a list and details, as I said. So when you do the call to the server returns back. You can actually do a list from the server. What are the tools available and what are the parameters that I need for those? And all that is part of the implementation, because that facilitates the client side, right? The server not only have to provide the functionality or the capability, but also have to communicate to the client how the interaction happens, right? What kind of tools are available and what are the methods provided for that. So in this case, as we did a search, right? As we implemented here for the search, we call that tool, and of course we get a result here that it may not be human readable because it is essentially text, but you got the idea, right? So this is pretty much the pretty simplistic, very few lines of code. The work is already done on the server side, and this offers a very interesting potential for the future. I did one enhancement though. I wanted to not only get the kind of text stream of response from the server, but I want to format that for human readable format. So what I did was let me clear this here. So what I did was I created an enhancement to that script. What I did was I added Anthropic, a call to the Anthropic LLM to take that text and then format it to make it more readable, human readable. And let me show you. It's pretty simplistic. It's not anything out of the extremely extraordinary. There we go. So as you can see here, we pretty much start the same way. We create the service parameters using the servers we did before. Here we did the Airbnb search as a function, as a method that we're applying here. Instead of hard coding, I place those as as parameters, so it can be more agnostic to a particular scenario. In the prior one, I was hard coding their pairs, the dates, the number of people. This one is a series of parameters which allows for agnostic implementation of the place, because you can then pass those parameters and get the results. But then I created another function that this is the one that takes that data, the response from the MPC server, and then uses that along with a prompt, to customize that as a response that is, in my case, whatever you want. But in this case, I provided a prompt here. So you can see here, I am taking as a parameter the Airbnb data. From there, of course, I'm applying my Anthropic API key. I am then using, providing here just the listing information and taking it from the text and creating kind of placeholders for them from the listing. And then you can see here where the prompt is. So I'm providing, the JSON dump, because it's actually a JSON what you get. It's a JSON response that you get. So from that JSON response, I am asking via a prompt to simplify, the formatting using these 4 pieces of information, right? And here's the call to the LLM. I'm using Claude 3 Opus because frankly, I don't need a powerful LLM for this. It's just formatting of text, and I'm using just smart formatting and allowing for some degree of creativity there, not that much. And then here's the call to the main function, right? So this calls the other functions here. I'm placing a particular example in this scenario here, in case there is no parameters. And at the end here, I am calling that function, right, to get the details. So let me just run this one for you just to see, to get an idea as to what it looks like. So if I bring here and it's Python, and let's run the MCP here. So it's going to perform the initial activities connecting to the server. The server is going to reply back with the tools available. We're going to call the Airbnb search. The response is going to come back as a JSON text, as the text response that we saw before. But this time we are calling the LLM a Claude. We're calling Claude Opus, and Claude Opus is taking that JSON and formatting it to be more human readable, right? So that is the possibilities are endless here, right? The sky is not the limit anymore. And frankly, Claude was quite helpful in creating for me, or helping me create these examples, the proof of life, as I call them, in this scenario here. And yeah, so I really encourage you to explore this. And there's one more detail that I want to share with you. So far, this is this new option for communicating or making services available, or even data from a server using MCP, the Model Context Protocol, and using the client side, right, which is an implementation of that standard, and bringing the data in as JSON and then doing whatever you need to do with it. But I got a communication from Claude that they have a beta on Claude Code, and I was very curious about that because I thought for when it comes to scenarios like using data or code in particular, it could be Python, it could be JavaScript. I use for debugging, for even creating shells, for even actually at this point it can create a significant amount of the application. So I was curious about code, and that is, you can see, let me bring you this screen here. So here's the screen. I encourage you to explore it. In particular, if you like Claude, Anthropic, this to me I think is a huge step in the right direction. So, and it's relatively easy to do or to implement. So I just did the implementation. Is using Node.js. So I already have Node.js in my environment. So you can see here. Let me close here. Let's clear this up. And let's say I have it implemented, so I can say Claude explain. So it's going to basically take a look at what I have in this directory, right? Because you can see I have a few scripts in this directory, and it's asking me, what I like for me to explain, right? So let's say functionality of the scripts in this directory. You can see it's pretty cool because it is already interacting with the code. I haven't got that deep. I know that it can create actually code. It can probably modify the code, refactor the code, debug the code. So as you can see, it provided me here with a brief explanation as to what is here. In fact, I should have made this a little bit bigger for you. Let me see if I can do that here. Yeah. So you can see the returns here of what it provided. So yeah, so here it's giving me pretty much an understanding of what these files are. And earlier today, when I get something like this that is a proof of life that I really like, I like to store that in my GitHub repository. And I typically have a script that I follow to do that. I create the repository in GitHub and then go to this, and then I start the Git client on that side to set up everything. But this time I ask Claude Code to do that for me, and remarkably it did it. It actually, after I created this repository, it went through the process of initiating, even modify the git ignore, because I got like a different git ignore and it added some details there. That was pretty cool. As you can see, let me if I can bring the history here. There were a few changes that were made here. So there we go. You can see it in this git ignore here, it was yeah, you can see the changes that it made for that, so which is pretty cool. And that is amazing because it saved me a significant amount of time creating and adding and committing and putting the comments, etc. All of that was taken care of when using Claude code. And one thing that is missing here is a README, a README file. So let's give it a try. So let me go here. Let's go here, and let's say create a README MD file with an introduction to the repo, description of the functionality, the Python script functionality, and let's also say here that also provide some implementation and installation steps. Let's call it actually installation step. Including the setup of the Airbnb NCP service, the API key for Anthropic using a environmental variable, and other details helpful to someone who is installing this repo. Okay, so let's see what it does, right? So let's take a look. So I provided, kind of specific instructions as to what is needed, and we're going to take a look at that README file. So, so you want to create the README MD? Yes, let's do that. So you can see already has details here of the what the README file is going to have, because I see that has a functionality. The scripts has here the repository contain Python scripts that leverage the model context protocol. Here we go, and it has an additional 83 lines of that. So let's take a look and see what that is. So let's bring here the bring another screen here. And let's open in the editor. And let's go to the NCP, and here's the README file. So yeah, it's describing, you can see it's describing it has the prerequisites already there, it has the setup, fantastic. Yeah, what needs to be installed, the environment setup that is needed, fantastic. In fact, it did it for Linux, Windows, and PowerShell. That is awesome. And it also has instructions here how to use it, which is great. Fantastic. So from here, let's try now asking Claude Code to actually move that to the repository, right? So let's go back here and let's say Claude commit and add the README MD to the repo. And we can take a quick look here. You know, right now it should not be anything there. So let's just go here. Let's go to the MCP agent. You know, nothing is there right now. So let's run that and see what Claude is going to do. Here we go. So it's going to perform a batch command, which is expected. It's going to add that to the committed state. I'm going to stage that file, and we want to do that. So that is the first step. And then it's going to commit that. It's going to commit that change that we just did, you know, add the README with installation and using instruction. Yes, we want to do that. Even put generated with Claude code. That is fine. I don't mind that. That is perfectly fine. And let's do to proceed with that. Okay, so it says that readme.md have been added and committed to the repository. Let's take a look and let's refresh here. Seems that it's not there. Let's refresh one more time. No, it's not there. So let's take a look and see what the diagnosis. Of course, they tell you have been added and committed to the repository. One file is there. Code. Okay. Okay, so must be something missing here that this is not appearing. It appears as committed though. Yeah, and I hope that yeah is I hope that I do not see the README in my. Let's be specific here. Repo. Okay. Oh, git push origin to main. Obviously, so it was committed, but it was not pushed yet. So yes, we want to do that. Missing the push, of course. So let's take a look. That should have done it. And here we go. So yeah, it was committed but not pushed to the repo. So here we have it. This is fantastic. It's gonna save me. It's already saved me a significant amount of time, because otherwise I would have to. I could have done it with Claude, just regular Claude, and then copy and paste, or doing some other interaction. But this is fantastic, and that is all for now, friends. So I hope that this is helpful to you. I'm going to make this repo public. Right now is private. I want to make it public, and I'm going to add a link whenever I post this in LinkedIn. I'm going to add a link to the repo so you have an opportunity to download and try that if you want to. In the meantime, keep searching for the what and why, right? So just to recap, we explored in this scenario here, we explored what is the model context protocol and why it seems a promising step into making tools available to AI agents using a standard that makes the implementation pretty much straightforward, and consuming those tools and using those tools also standardized to the point that most likely those agents will be able to build the code needed, build implementation with no developer interaction at all, with no human interaction, because it will be able to search for this particular servers, find from them perhaps the tools that they need, and within the tool definition there is going to be what are the the parameters that are needed to get that data and the type of data they are going to get, and then the agent should be able to build a standardized way of communicating with that NCP server, and then bringing the information back and consuming it. So this is a very interesting space. So what and why there is going to help us in the future to be more autonomous when it comes to these agents performing the work that they need to do. And we also learn about Claude Code, which is a significant enhancement to the work that developers do today. If you're a developer, you that is what you do day to day. Having something like Claude Code is going to accelerate the work. And in my case, I have software engineering background, but I don't do code every day. I do it occasionally, just to what I call do proof of life, making sure something can be done. I call that proof of life. And this is a great opportunity for me to test, to see the limitations. And that is why it's important to me, something like Claude Code, because quickly I can assess what a technology, a capability, a functionality is available, in what are the value proposition, what are the limitations and opportunities, and then have a better way of communicating that to others as we go. So yeah, it's fantastic. And finally, I want to make this available so you can check it out if you want to use it. And any questions, you know where to reach me. And then it will be until next time. Take care, my friends. Cheers.